Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Adult Chair on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right over there is Michelle Chalfant.
Good afternoon, Pete.
You like how I refer to you as you're right over there, like you're sitting in the chair across from me?
Yeah.
It feels like we're so close.
Just a little bit across the whole country.
Just a little bit across the country. That's right. Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm still on my first cup of coffee.
Oh yeah, you're in the morning.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's not even quite. It's still a little bit. It's only 11:45 here, so.
All right. Well,
not quite afternoon.
We're talking about kids today. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
And as people with kids, this is an important topic, but also happens to be one of the questions that has come up recently with emails from podcast listeners and questions from clients to you. And so we're going to talk about getting your kid to sit in the adult chair, or I should say, probably not so aggressively. How do you teach your child to sit in the adult chairs? That's probably a better way to put it.
Yes.
But first, head over to theadultchair.com to learn more about this show. You can subscribe for free by signing up to our mailing list or search for us anywhere finer podcasts are served. You can join the conversation on Facebook or Twitter, and we would just love to hear from you and hear more of these questions that you have floating around. Share them. All right. How do you force your child to sit down in the adult chair, whether they like it or not?
It takes a seatbelt and super glue.
Well, this is actually a tough question, right? Because these are, it's really easy for us to talk about how we are operating from the seat of our inner child or our inner adolescent or our inner adult, but children haven't hit their inner adult yet.
Exactly. And I have had this question come up quite a bit from listeners and from clients that are just asking me, and they're asking from fear. They're so worried that their kid is going to be released into society at 25 and not have a clue how to sit in their adult chair. So they want to know, as they're growing up, how can they teach them all about the adult chair, and how can they make sure that they're going to be healthy adults?
Well, I think about that all the time because, my kids are, I have a kid who is just becoming a teenager, right? And so I'm seeing these little leaps all the time. You have older kids, and so I'm curious, as part of this conversation, I have operated heretofore with faith that if I do what I think is right by my kids and my family day in, day out, if I just do my best, that at some point the bit will flip and they'll recognize what it means to be in the adult chair on their own.
That's the answer. The answer is you cannot teach your kid. You took away the whole big answer, which is you can't teach your kids how to sit in the adult chair. However, we can model it for them, which is exactly what you just said. That's the key here, is that it's not about teaching them how to do it. It's about you learning how to sit in the healthiest version of you, which is in your adult chair. And when you do that, then you're modeling that for your kids. It's not something you verbally say to them, like, let me teach you this and let me teach you that. You learn it for you. And anyone that's growing up in the household with you will then start to learn it. And I'm going to add to that, even, when working with a lot of couples, I'll have someone that will come in and say, well, my husband or my wife won't learn this. And I don't know what to do. So I'm going to add to not only modeling it for kids, but when we change, every relationship that we're in changes. When we show up in a new, healthier way, all of our relationships change, whether it be friendships, a partnership, or children. And we're modeling them how to be healthy. And it's all in the unconsciousness. It's just when we show up healthy, our kids are noticing how to do that. And then the kids naturally can step into that as they get older.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's what I keep thinking. It's this image of the dominoes that start falling. When you make one change, the impact is sort of felt, ripples in a pond.
Yes.
You never know where that impact is going to hit you. And I keep thinking back to what was the musical, Julie Andrews, The
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, right?
Yeah.
I have never met any kids like the Von Trapp kids. Right? Those kids were like preternaturally like adult chair kids. And so that was the model of kids that I grew up expecting my kids to be. And they're so not those kids. Please tell me your kids are not Von Trapp kids.
Well, they are, Pete. They're perfect. I'm kidding.
You're the worst. No,
they're not. And that is where, as parents, we get stuck. Because we think our kids need to look like whatever fantasy we have in our brain. It's like we don't live in Sunday Hallmark movies or HBO movies. That's not real. Von Trapps are not real. So we have to learn how to let that go and honor ourselves, sit in that adult chair, and surrender to all the rest.
Yeah, that's the part that is so challenging for me to think about is to be able to stop and reflect just on where I am right now, and know that you know it is my actions and how I move through life that is going to impact my kids' future much more than what I actively try to force them to do or teach them, and to take a much more active role. That I think they're just more spongy than I ever imagined I would give them credit for.
They are.
Yeah,
I like that word, spongy.
Well, it's terrifying. Right?
Yeah, I know.
It's terrifying because
but here's the thing though, Pete. I think parents we take too much responsibility when our kids get it right, and way too much responsibility when our kids get it wrong, or what we perceive as them getting it wrong. Also, I mean, just a higher spiritual truth here, like we're all on a path. We all have a life path that's guided, in my opinion, by something bigger than me. What is our job? I think our job is to keep them alive and to be the healthiest version of me that I can be. That's it. So if your kid shows up and he's getting himself into trouble or she's getting herself into trouble, it doesn't mean that maybe that isn't even part of their experience. But what we want them to do is to remember, I mean, the key to living in the adult chair is one of the main keys is to remember how to tune back into ourselves, finding out what's true for me, what's my inner truth. It's going deeper inside of ourselves. That's one of the key things we want to teach our kids how to do. Mm-hmm. And we're not good at that. And to go along with that, it's how do we feel our feelings and emotions? We're not good at that. We're very external. We want to find happiness outside of ourselves. We want our world to look like this, so we want to control it so it looks like that. And it doesn't work. So the kids pick up on all this. Mm-hmm. So if we can sit back and trust that, you know what? I'm here doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. You're doing it. My kids are showing up the way they're supposed to. It's just sitting back in trust, which is sitting in our adult, that everything's going to work out okay. That's that's where we want to be with our kids. It's all working out, even when they're pushing back. That's okay. They need to push back. That's part of being in the adolescent chair. That's part of our learning. That adolescent chair is not a bad part. The ego needs to be here to keep us alive. The thing is sometimes our egos get out of control and they take all the power and it becomes an unhealthy ego.
Do you remember when you sort of woke up to this realization with your own kids? Do you have an experience where you just were sort of shocked in how little control you had over direct impact?
I will say this. I had an idea of what I thought my life was going to be like when I got married and had kids. And you know my whole story about moving to Tennessee, and I didn't want to live here, and I wanted to raise my kids with my family, and that's what we do, and blah, 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 blah. So I suffered until I let that go. And then it was like, poof, all of a sudden, like I even looked at my kids, because I used to live in this story. It was truly just a story of, my kids aren't going to be, they're not raised with all their cousins and aunts and uncles. I grew up every Sunday. We were with aunts and uncles and cousins every single Sunday. So since my kids weren't having that, they were not having a really healthy and good life experience. So it was probably just, I don't remember. I think I talked about it on the show maybe a year ago or so, where I finally surrendered and let go to the fact that I don't live near my family and it's all okay. And if I was supposed to live nearby, then I would. And I'm just not. And it's okay. It's not part of my plan or my path right now. And I got to let it go. And then I felt free. And all of a sudden I looked at my kids and I was like, they're actually okay. And I was only focusing on what they were lacking and what they were missing out on. And so I don't remember the day that happened. I can remember where I was standing in the kitchen looking out the window, and it just dawned on me, oh my God, what if I can't change this? And I'm just going to live here until further notice, and maybe I'll move, maybe I won't. And I don't know what day it was, or it was about a year ago. And I just remember letting everything go. And that's when peace came in. When I let go of control, when I let go of my idea of what I thought it was supposed to be like. in order for my kids to be happy, in order for me to be happy. I'm like, maybe this is it. They seem pretty happy to me. They don't know what they're missing, because I grew up with cousins and family all around me, the big Italian thing. And I was like, but they're missing out. And this is what they're supposed to have growing up. And I'm like, they're actually okay. And they know they're loved and I love them. And that's it. They're not perfect kids. And here's the thing though. What's perfect? How do I know that they're not supposed to have the experience of, I don't know, getting themselves into trouble? My son the other day, he said he wanted to, all the kids were able to go to this volleyball game and leave school early because they were doing PSATs at school. So I wrote him a note and said, sure, you can go to the volleyball game. He decided, because some of his friends were doing the PSATs instead, he's like, well, I don't want to do the volleyball game. I'm going to come home instead and hang out. And I said, okay, but I believe you're either supposed to be at school or at the volleyball game. And he said, no, I think it's fine if I just come home. I said, okay. So guess what? The next day, the principal called and said, your son was supposed to be at that volleyball game and he didn't show up because they had actually a sign-in sheet, which that didn't happen with my older son.
Yeah.
So he got in-school suspension. I was so glad. I was so happy. And I said to the principal, I said, fantastic. He goes, he's going to sit there all day. I just wanted to make you aware. I said, I understand. I said, this is called a consequence and he needs to experience this. And can you take his phone away for the day too? Just put him in that room. I said that. I said, put him in that room, no phone, and he needs to sit there. This is called a consequence and it's not going to feel good. And it's okay. That's being a healthy adult and teaching that my kid, that's what, and I said to the principal, this is the problem with a lot of parents today, not all, but a lot of them, is they don't want their kids to suffer or feel pain, or it's like, no, you messed up. Great. Part of life. It's just life, right?
Yeah, right.
So
right.
sit in school suspension for the day. And he did. And he came out and he's like, I read ahead in AP Euro and I studied for Spanish. And I'm like, great. Sounds like you got a lot done today. Good for you. I said, you think you're going to do that again and miss, not do what you're supposed to do? He goes, oh God, no, that was like the worst day ever, but I did get a lot done. I said, great.
Yeah. And you know what? That's exactly what it's like to be an adult too.
Exactly.
Like a practical, not adult chair adult, but a practical, like living through life. You do stuff, you screw up, there are consequences, you deal with it, you make the best of it that you can. And that ends up being an important lesson.
Exactly.
But I think what it illustrates too is that there is a great deal of opportunity that comes not only with as a parent kind of letting go of feeling the direct responsibility to teach these specific how to be an adult things, and just fall back on smart modeling, but great opportunity that comes with learning these lessons too.
Right. So. We're here to have life experiences, period. That's it. One experience after the next, after the next, after the next. And we just want to model for our kids how to gracefully go through all of those experiences. And the ego is the part that says they're good and they're bad, but really, are they good or are they bad, or are they just experiences? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, when you think about that, is it just another experience? And then when we have something that happens in our life and it doesn't feel good, whether it be the death of someone, the death of an animal, something quote unquote bad happens, what do we then do with those emotions? This is another aspect of being healthy and our healthy adult is, what are you doing with all those emotions? Are you going home and having a glass of wine, or are you sitting in them? And that's one thing we as parents do not do well for our kids. We don't model for them. What do we do with these emotions?
I think we have solved the problem with parenting then.
Yeah, we have to,
We've really, you and I have just nailed it.
We just want to be as healthy as we can. And that means we want to sit in our adult. And that doesn't mean, again, being zen on our meditation pillow every day. It's just living from this place of this internal guidance, like living from the heart, whatever you want to call it, but living from this place of inside of me and living in the moment, living from fact and truth, no stories, setting boundaries. So many of us can't set healthy boundaries for our kids. We'll yell and scream and say, do this. And if you don't, I'm going to take your phone away, or I'm going to take video away, or I'm going to take whatever away. You're grounded for the weekend. And then we don't follow through. So our kids don't learn how to sit in that pain. They don't know how to sit in suffering. Like, oh, my phone for the whole weekend, it's gone. It's like, yeah. Our kids want us to set boundaries. That's how they feel safe and loved. It's like the opposite. And parents think, well, really destroy him or her to not have their phone for the weekend. I'm like, no, it won't. It does not destroy them.
You know what you didn't have growing up? A phone.
A phone.
You made it. You grew up. You're an adult and
right.
a parent now. You're okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is a great, I hope that for those who have been asking the question, that this provides some guidance and some liberation, in fact, that you're probably doing okay. And that really the stress that comes with and the fear that comes with wondering, how do I get my child to sit in the adult chair, really is manifested in you. I think that's a big lesson, that the fear is yours, not your child's, and your kids are doing fine. And
don't blame or judge yourself, because people go, well, oh my God, I haven't been doing this, and now my kid is 16, and oh my God, I've ruined my kid. No, you haven't. No, learn it now.
Yep.
Learn how to be healthy in your adult now, and your kid still benefits from that.
Absolutely. There you go. That's all. So if you have any more questions that spin up for you off of this topic, we sure encourage you to go over to the website and send us a note. We would love to hear from you and hear how this affects you. Also on Facebook or Twitter, please let us know. Write in. How are you helping your child sit in the adult chair? Thanks, everybody. On behalf of Michelle Chalfant, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next time right here in the adult chair.